All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to Office Hours with Michael Kitces. So I want to talk today a little about advanced financial planning education. For most of the history of financial planning, the highest level of advanced education that was really out there were advanced designations like CFP certification or the CHFC marks. Programs are typically taught as adult education. They were built to teach what, frankly, I'd still kind of call the basic knowledge, and maybe in the case of CFP marks, to prepare you for the test. Most financial planning designation programs are kind of functionally the equivalent of about a half a dozen undergraduate level courses. Now, in the past 15 years, we've seen the rise of actual college degrees in financial planning, where you get the whole degree in financial planning. And much of that growth really was spawned by what I'll call a very visionary grant from the CFP board itself to Texas Tech, which seeded $2 million in 2000 to the PhD program at Texas Tech University and really started the growth of higher education programs for financial planning. Their goal was to create PhD graduates from Texas Tech who in turn could go out and create other PhD programs, since the reality is that for most higher education institutions, they require a PhD professor in order to teach a PhD program. Now, 15 years later, the entire thing has turned around. We've reached the point, actually, where there are as many degree-based undergraduate and graduate programs in financial planning as there are adult education certificate programs. And we've seen the rise of about a half a dozen PhD programs. The original Texas Tech program itself, University of Georgia has a program taught heavily with Texas Tech graduates. Kansas State University has a program taught heavily with Texas Tech graduates. Missouri has a program. Louisiana State University recently launched a program. And there's actually a relatively new PhD program at the American College taught by Dr. Wade Pfau, who many of you know from the world of retirement research. And so with the growth of all these advanced programs in financial planning, I'm actually getting the question more and more from practitioners, something to the effect of, is it worthwhile to get a PhD in financial planning? So that's the question I actually want to tackle today. What's the relevance of a PhD for a financial planning practitioner? So to answer the question, first and foremost, I think it's really crucial to recognize what a PhD actually is in the first place. A PhD is a research degree. It is not an advanced financial planning designation for practitioners. And you'll see this distinction if you actually look at the curriculum of a PhD program. Now, you may see some credit hour requirements for mastering the core financial planning body of knowledge, but frankly, some programs actually characterize those as like the pre-doctoral foundational classes, stuff that frankly they would have expected you got in a master's degree, but if you haven't, you can do that first. And then the PhD program itself, you'll find, often includes courses that really go down the road of research. You'll find research methods, quantitative models. There may even be an econometrics course, all built around how you actually do research in financial planning. And typically culminating in a doctoral dissertation where you're going to do very in-depth research study into something related to financial planning. Some programs will let you do 3 slightly smaller original research studies that you submit to journal publications. So kind of the 3, a group of 3 studies rather than one mega study. But I can't emphasize enough that the focus of financial planning PhD content is not advanced financial planning like a master's degree might be. It's about actually doing research in financial planning. So given these dynamics, what do you do with the financial planning PhD? As the funding from the original CFP board grant indicates, one of the primary opportunities for getting a PhD in financial planning is to teach personal financial planning, particularly in a higher education institution. And frankly, I think it's worth noting, this is a really exciting time for the growth of financial planning as an educational discipline, as we grow the number of degree-based programs. My gut is that in the coming decade, we may actually see a whole shift where the requirements for financial planning education move up and require more college coursework in financial planning. We already require a general bachelor's degree to get your CFP marks, but more actual content in financial planning. Because when you compare to other more established professions, law, accounting, medicine, they all require graduate degrees to really master the content, and then you learn to be a practitioner, get your experience, and actually get your license. So as financial planning grows and expands its body of knowledge, we may soon get there as well, with an important caveat. If we actually required everybody who's getting CFP marks to get college education in financial planning, there are not enough professors to teach it. Not if we put everybody in. And especially at the graduate level and the PhD level, which you need to make more PhDs to build more programs to continue to grow it. So for those of you who are practitioners and think a second career as a financial planning educator might be appealing, a PhD could be a very good path for you. Now, the second alternative for what to do with the financial planning PhD is to actually do research. Because frankly, I think research in financial planning is woefully inadequate right now. I mean, there's so much we advise on that at the end of the day relies on rules of thumb instead of real research that's validated it. And I think we're actually especially weak about this when it comes to the science of actually delivering financial planning, right? You can even see it in the labels. It's common to call the technical stuff the science of financial planning, and the delivery is the art of financial planning or the soft side of financial planning. The truth is, that's actually a hard science as well. I mean, when you look at fields like medicine and psychology, there is extensive research in the soft skills about how to relate and connect to patients, about how to actually give people advice that helps change their behavior. And when we look at financial planning, we don't even teach behavior change in most financial planning programs. It's certainly not a material part of the core curriculum. So imagine all the research that can be done in the softer side of financial planning about how to really do it effectively. Not to mention all the stuff on the hard research side as well. Retirement research, research on how to impact spending and saving behaviors, on how to improve the psychology of insurance, and so people who actually need coverage would buy it. How our financial literacy grows and develops and changes over time. There's fascinating research out there about how our financial literacy tends to decline with age, but our confidence in financial literacy does not decline with age. So we continue to be confident even though we actually know less. That has all sorts of implications around how we might engage as planners, but you need research to validate and prove that. And as a financial planning PhD, if you want to go down that road, you can contribute to that research. But the key point, if there's one thing you take away from this, is to recognize that a PhD is not an advanced financial planning practitioner designation. It's a research degree, or at least it's a teaching and research degree. It's something that you get if you want to be a professor that teaches or affiliated with a university that does financial planning research, or maybe you want to do your own independent financial planning research. But it's not meant for simply being an advanced practitioner. It's an important distinction. And realistically, if you don't like doing mathematical analyses and building models and doing giant spreadsheets and learning how to use, real research number crunching kind of software, recognize you're probably not going to be very happy in the program. I mean, it is very quantitatively oriented. So, at a minimum, be certain that you go into it with your eyes wide open about what it really entails, because the cost is not trivial. A lot of PhD programs will cost you tens of thousands of dollars. If you just want your CFP education, as Eddie had just noted, you get a CFP designation, maybe even pursue a master's degree, which most of which are more structured as just advanced practitioner degrees. But a PhD is really something different. So if your passion is teaching and research, go get a PhD. If you're a practitioner that's maybe thinking about a second career, a second stage, and you're wondering what path you might go down from here, check out a PhD option as a second career option. But if you simply want to get a more advanced knowledge and education as a financial planning practitioner, look to graduate degrees, look to advanced designations, but not the PhD. So I hope that helps a little as some food for thought. This is Office Hours with Michael Kitces, 1 p.m. East Coast time every Tuesday. Thanks for hanging out with us, and have a great day, everyone.